Hello, everyone. I'm getting a little time here, and I was just gonna go ahead and do this, but because I got a little space to make this video, I want to share with you a very important stretch of this comic endeavor I'm having. I'm gonna show you how to draw butts today, and now that sounds maybe a little inappropriate, but the butts in question are wearing thongs. So, you know, that's like the excuse at the beach. It's not really showing the butt because the crack has like a piece of cloth running through it. So I'm going to use that excuse too. All the same. This is at least PG-13 rated territory. But considering this comic goes well into and perhaps beyond R-rated material, then you know, who cares? So anyway, yes, kids beware. Man, let's get things cracking. Yeah, hi. There's my upside down shirt. Broken Hope. Because I'm all like professional. Okay, so like in the story so far, and once again, this is inspired by true events. Just the behavior I've seen of people. It was inspired by that one time I went to that family theme park and I saw the delightful people showing and taking pictures of their butts, the thong-clad butt cheeks, as families were coming and going. And I was, you know, it's like I said, I'm no saint. When I was a kid, I was a complete idiot jackass. Still never put on a thong and then took my butt out at theme parks. I can say that much at least. I was nihilistic and offensive and rude in many ways, but I think I had boundaries mostly. I reserved most of my rudeness for I don't know. Nah, you know, yeah, that's the truth. I was rude to a lot of people that didn't deserve to be rude to, and you know, like I said, I was too immature to really at one point know nice people from the kind of bullies that had really messed with my mind during middle school. So I just got kind of crappy, and that crappiness got projected on a lot of people who did not deserve it, and I always take these opportunities to just say, if you're out there, if you hear me, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to a lot of the nice people. Yeah, it's like I said, I always catch myself apologizing and just feeling bad, especially to all the people from back then. Primarily high school, despite there were a lot of crappy people in that school, there were a lot of nice people too. I always say that. I'm just thinking, you know, if any of my old high school classmates happen to be watching, I love you guys, and thank you and sorry and everything. There's my humility for the day. But yeah, I never put on a thong in, yeah, like I said, being a jackass in high school, you know, high school shenanigans, a family theme park. It's like, come on. So I thought, what if some really crappy people are how can I reposition this? Let's get this a little better. Sorry. What if some really lousy people are doing this in a family restaurant? So that'd tick me off. Wouldn't it you? It's too dark. And anyway, another thing, but I mean, getting away from my stupid sense of humor a little bit. This is still a fun page. We started this the other day, and I've been away from drawing for a bit. Had a lot going on, and even when I got some time, my brain was just too tired from real life stuff to want to draw. I think, one of the challenging things, let me share this with you. One of the challenging things here was I had to create some new characters, and the other and that's a little challenging. Not so much to just make random characters. Making random characters, it doesn't really matter. They're coming and going. There's a little mental stress on me when I make new characters. So I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to say how long these particular characters are going to be around, but if you know they're going to be you're going to have these characters at least for some significant amount of time. They're not just background. You want them to kind of fit you want their image to just kind of become what their actions are in the story. You know. Yeah. So I thought of some dandies. I used to work night shift at a convenience store at another, this is just more things I had to do after I gave up my career for my family. I was a sport about it. You talk about humbling. That was humbling. But yeah, some of the people you dealt with. There are a lot of nice people you'd meet coming in, and met some really amazing people, for sure. Believe it or not. You also see a lot of people like this. Let's go. Even when those like spoiled college kids would come in, and some of the girls would be dressed very inappropriate. At least then it was like 2 in the morning and talking to a bunch of college kids. If you're out at 2 in the morning in a college town, just it's not a family friendly environment. That theme park was, however. So I'm a little more justified in my disgust on that note. Let's give a little of my favorite, my current favorite shading brush. This, what is that one called? It's the gauze effect on Manga Studio. Love the gauze effect. Let's give a little grain and whatnot. I'm already getting into this probably a little more than I should be. Let's move this along and get to, let's turn this light off. Alright. Okay, yeah. A little shading around this shady character. That's too shady. Yep. Nothing shouts out on your resume like experienced butt cheek drawer. You can say you learned it from me. Okay, yeah, so they are at a booth in the restaurant. Let's give a little more grotesqueness. These are loose women who've been around a lot, so they're probably not. Their rear ends are probably not totally pristine. They're probably like kind of bruised up by now. You're getting real gross, but I mean these characters are gross, so that's just how it is. Stephen King was talking about people would give him trouble for his vulgar language, and I will say sometimes I think a lot of it, like too many of his characters have the same. No, I should not use this space to get critical of a master like Stephen King. That's opening myself. But no, I mean, it's like a lot of people use serious profanity. I'm like, man, does everyone in Maine seriously talk like that? I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes, but not. I don't say that to be critical, but also in that same respect. I mean, I think I know. I admit when I'm writing a story, I know my talk is coming through many of my characters. Now I'm trying to make them different, and it's just and I'm trying to speak through these different characters, but I know a lot of them have similarities. I remember one book I wrote, I got frustrated with myself because two very different characters, like I think unrelated to each other, use the same phrase. They use the same expression, and it was a rare expression, not a trendy expression. I said, well, people hear that, it's that was an honest goof. It's just improbable, and try to avoid improbable dialect even for stories of fiction. Just because though it is fiction, we want it to feel like something you can believe. We want it to not want you to get lost with the characters and not say, "Oh, well, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't seem natural." Which something like that would, if you're paying close enough attention. All right. This guy now yeah, no one here is based on real people. Everything is fictitious and the product of my imagination and blah blah blah. But maybe I got some ideas from this one guy who came in the convenience store I was working, and I got into a big cussing fight because I wouldn't sell him smokes because he was with his girlfriend who didn't have an ID, and we had a big sign up there. This is so common. It got to the point where I was so sick of people arguing with me, I'd just kind of pop off as soon as they tried to challenge me on it. And this piece of white trash filth, his daddy was in there. His daddy was half drunk and started telling me that's BS. I'm her father. He's the father of the delightful young lady who was with this fantastic gentleman. And I'm like, well, okay, it's BS. And they finally got it out of their system. Real nice man even kind of came to my defense on that one, said that's his job, And they were like, oh, okay. After I said as much 100 times, but because I'm the employee and thereby prey to scuzz buckets like this, then my word carried no weight, even with the sign on the door and directly behind me, up against the tobacco products. People, but hey, c'est la vie. All right, yeah. So what's troubling me is there's supposed to be a booth seat behind them. I'd like to give some impression of that. Everyone, you know what? Who cares? Everyone knows this already. This is a mistake. That's right. I was gonna make a little image on his screen here. So let's try. Okay. All right. So now here come the smaller butt cheeks, and of course, when you're recreating. Okay. Nah, see, that's... All right, I don't think anyone's going to be so uptight as to look at the angle of the camera and how much of which butt cheeks they should be capturing, but that's good enough. I wanted it to be clear that that is the image of the butt cheeks on his camera. Very important. Okay, let's take a little shading. This is something I kind of developed, and this is nothing special, but this was kind of a process for me in learning how to do reflections off glass surfaces, or smooth or transparent surfaces. Take a little white, give it some streaks of light reflection, and how good or bad that looks is, well, up to you to decide. Give this guy a little more texture on his face. I'm going to keep this going for just a wee bit longer. I want to make this short and sweet. I mainly just wanted to share the very important process of butt cheek illustration with you all, because I know that's what a lot of y'all are looking for at when you come to my drawing videos. Maybe not at family theme parks, and if you do go to family theme parks for that, then good luck with that. I know I don't, especially when I'm taking my daughter there. And when I was 19 years old in Fort Lauderdale at the beach, that's a different story. Look at this guy. You can just hear him. You can hear his inner his soul. He's like, yeah. And he's like, I try to avoid profanity in these videos. I don't know why, because I'm not doing family-friendly comics anyway. But I got this line. I have this scenario for the first panel of the next page. The waitress is going to step up and be objectionable. And I want him to be saying something directly before. It's going to be a close-up of her face with like a portion of his head, maybe with just his eyes showing, all feverish and excited in the foreground, just lazy libido kicking, just lounging about, looking at butt cheeks and getting grotesquely turned on. I think that'll make for very comical comic book stuff. Um, yeah, yeah, but it's one. I had one of those moments where exactly what he should be saying as the waitress steps up to put an end to this behavior, this inappropriate behavior. Um, yeah, I'm actually not going to say it here, but it made me laugh. And I will say for profanity and when and how to use um, when profanity is kind of I want to say okay when it really serves a purpose. I think more than anything, just be natural. But obviously, it's like I told my friends when I was making my movie. I said the problem is for me. When I was a kid, I wanted to watch scary movies, and most of them were rated R. And my parents just being just not wanting me to be exposed to things that might become bad habits or I might pick up or whatever. They didn't really want me watching films with a lot of profanity. I mean, that's just how it goes, and that's how it should be. Your kid's too young to process a lot of this stuff. A lot of they need to get to a certain age level of maturity before they can kind of handle a lot of this uglier stuff, and God forbid, imitate it. As we learned with stuff like Beavis and Butthead, we all know these things are fake, not to be taken seriously. It's entertainment, But I guess what I'm saying is, I just try to avoid it. But when artwork becomes profane, my main thing is if it makes me laugh, it served a purpose. If I say that was well worth the good laugh I just had, then I'm pretty laid back about it. When it's just being vulgar for the sake of vulgarity, it's just crap, And I have practiced it that way. I've done it that way. I did plenty of that, but something crazy happened. I kind of sort of grew up. And I'll even say, despite I don't claim myself to be some saint or anything like that. Though I have a kind of natural deterrence to stuff that's just gross, just for the sake of being gross. I've just had that desire to do nihilistic work, as I've said before. Um, so I mean, that's not to say I never get a thrill off watching a horror movie that is really nasty and doesn't seem to have any purpose besides that alone. I'm still guilty of watching a movie like that from time to time. But more often, I really think I feel we feel a little better about ourselves for enjoying these little slices of escapism when they have a little more to offer than just that. If the grotesque images, if there's a story behind it, if there's characters we care about, these are all things we need to take under consideration. Uh, and that's just kind of sort of what I do. So I can do fun stuff like this, but I try not to lose sight of. I mean, what am I saying? I think I just have to. I'm compelled to make a story. Um, and some people might say that that's my excuse for putting all this nasty stuff in here. I think just one complements the other when doing horror comics. So some might argue that this. I'm sure a lot of people would say this is pointless garbage anyway, but I feel it captures thoughts and perspectives and experiences and butt cheeks at the same time. Okay, so this woman, this delightful woman, her shirt was hanging a little lower. Now they could be shifting and moving about there. They are in motion. Oh yeah, that's right. We had the dolphin tattoo. Don't ask me what that other part of the tattoo is about. Sitting here, I guess I'm just sitting here trying to validate my reasons for doing horror comics and having stuff like this in it. And maybe I'm just blowing hot air. Okay, okay. How we doing? How we doing on the butt cheeks, everybody? Okay, and yeah, we double checked. There was a little piece of paper. I guess this is like a napkin or something. Yeah, that's probably a napkin right there. And sorry. Let me do. Okay, sitting on the table. Like I said, I'm not a perspective maniac. I'm not a perspective artist at all so far. But I do want to make sure that the table is positioned right, that the butt cheeks can properly be plopped over said table. Okay, let's go old school here and just do this is not crosshatch. Is that feathering? Geez, I think I've heard artists call this just feathering when you got the lines going. A little darker there. And catching up with the new school, let's use this. Go back to my gauze, give it a little more. Okay. I just, golly, the camera's seeing terribly. I apologize, everyone. I guess you can see it okay still, right? Little tape routine here. Good lord. Sorry. Take it a shade down. Yeah, I enhanced the size. Take it a shade down. Just give that that vinyl booth a little texture. Some lines. Baby. Okay. Yeah. And once again. Okay. Yeah, this is when I'm doing lines like this. It drives me crazy when I'm doing these videos. It is hard because I don't want to move the tablet on y'all. Ordinarily, I'd be moving the tablet about, changing its position. Okay, let's take the size of the gauze down a little bit. Let's go darker. Let's see if we can get this down. 407. Okay, I got time. Oh man, that's again. You want to make it count. But I really like doing these pages where I feel I can be a little more casual. And my line, okay, let me just put my arm like this because I'm having a lot of trouble getting these lines horizontal. Okay. Nope, too dark. This reminds me a lot of those whatever those shows were back on stupid MTV, back when they'd people would do really outrageous things. It's like sometimes it was funny, but sometimes it was just, you saw some stuff. Saw some of those things were just so rude and uncalled for. Like I said, I really got to be careful about judging too hard. I know a lot of the stuff I did back then was qualified. You got to be careful judging. Yeah, there are a couple things. I'm like, but no cable network, no stupid cable network ever paid me. So someone's actually like paying these people to do stuff that is uncalled for, inappropriate. And okay, let's just do a little fit. Yeah, there you go. I like doing these solids. I really get into just kind of meeting out the fine details here and there. But sometimes, like the hair, you'll notice I spend a lot of time giving the hair texture and whatnot. And sometimes it's cool just to give it a solid gray. Put a little texture in there if you want. I probably do more of that than is necessary. Some bruises. Like I say, I'm not trying to be inappropriate, but the women in this caper are not decent, and their bodies show sign of that. That camera is wobbling so much. Are you kidding me? Might be time to replace the tape. Man, what a piece of garbage. That ticks me off. What am I doing wrong here? Wow. Sorry, everyone. Okay. I'll just have to do. Baby, how are we doing? Let's give this dolphin. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I was gonna go back. Just haven't filled that in now. I think I should do the same for this tattoo. Even though, yeah, I do become excessive sometimes. You know, I start filling in a lot of detail where I could probably shave off some time. You know, sometimes it's just sometimes you can get the desired effect without all this extra attention to detail, and I guess that's what I'm trying to say in a lot of these cases. You don't always need to get this heavy duty into it. I reference Doug TenNapel a lot, and you know I was just looking at the manga of his I got from Saint Nick, and you really, you know, if you're like me and you're into comics, you want to draw comics, you find yourself more and more paying attention to how other artists do it, which is a good thing, obviously. If you want to do your own comics, look how the other people do it. And what amazes me sometimes is when I see very simple illustrations that are just done with kind of a finesse that is earned of many hours, years drawing. You know, and I noticed that in TenNapel's work. I mean, there's some where I just say, wow, you know, he really, I mean, look how, I mean, if you actually objectively look at the illustration, I don't want to call it sloppy, but it's just really quick, really simple, and that's what used to drive me crazy because I used to try and get that effect, but I think you have to get to a certain level of comfort before you can do that and get away with it and pull it off, you know, and I used to try it prematurely before I had any business trying to do simple strokes and getting an image I liked. And these days, I feel like I've got I'm more in touch with it. I wish I could describe to you here and now the secret to it, but I think the best I can say is you just get so used to it that what you used to obsess over and sit there, like, you know, very delicately, you know, sometimes you just no, and there's your picture, you know. And I mean, you see, as I mentioned, sometimes in manga, typical anime styles, I see how some of these they get effects by leaving entire lines out. You know, the lines are only implied by the other lines. You know, they actually some of these mangas I think are lame anyway. But you know, I'll look at I must admit when I see something where they didn't even objectively complete the drawing. You know, the character's eye is not even, you know, one of his eyes isn't drawn, or none of his eyes are drawn. His mouth isn't drawn, you know, but we kind of, you know, our imagination's filled up because what is suggested by the story, the what is shown. That's kind of interesting to me. I don't think it's some unique magical ability. It's just the way the human mind works when we're looking at art, and you know, a lot of these illustrators have kind of tapped into that and kind of make use of it, and it's pretty cool. I personally, I like relaxing to the point of making my characters cartoonish at times, and similar in how anime styles do it, but not exactly, if you know what I mean. I mean, I do my own cartoon style. I think only in that they are simpler drawings that look a little more cartoonish to, you know, give this little slapstick appeal. mild slapstick to one panel, just as a character's, just to, I guess, emphasize some comical reaction, some humorous reaction, or exaggerated reaction of a character. Do it tastefully. And it doesn't really take away from the idea that this is something that could be translated, adapted into a live action film. Okay, so comes a tattoo. You got to do this delicate. Here and now I am doing a style, doing cursive. I want to make it work. There, tattoo. What if I put like a bandage right here? Might be a little too much. Let's leave it. Okay, we might have finished a page here, people. And at a little over a half hour, let's go over and do some final. Sorry. Let's just add in some. I usually go back over it and just anywhere where I can just kind of dab up some detail, if you will. Like this hand in the foreground. Let's give it a little texture, or some little bumps and hairs. Let's see how the butt's looking. I got an idea. Actually, let's try this real quick. Let's give it some. That's too much. A little extra shading here. So, give a little sheen. It's not coming out too well. Let's try this a little more. Give that shading so you can come back and just dab it up. Give it some gloss. The light reflecting off I don't want to say smooth exactly, but butt cheeks. Not exactly smooth butt cheeks. These are fairly rough, but I guess they still haven't lost that reflective quality. That veneer. Okay. Let's give the napkin. Oops. Oh, actually, looks cool. Yeah, there you go. Let's make this a little larger, make the stroke a little lighter, and yeah, just a quick line. Let's give it a little texture. How are we looking? How are we looking? Okay, everybody. I really try to pay attention. You know what? I do, because I really try to avoid having to come back and redo this. It's not like it's such a big deal to come back and resave a page, but I like just being done. That's why I'll take that extra minute. I will often take that extra minute because it just saves time in the long run. Because quite often I'll be looking at it and I say, man, if I really think I should just go back to this page and give it a little more. And as I was doing Door to Death, I realized I wasn't doing that quite as much when I just took that little bit of time to do as much, to get that part over with before I saved it as the final copy and exported the image file. You might, if you have watched, you might have seen a little bit or maybe all of the video doing this one. Okay, it's good enough for me, folks. Let's look at the final product without the pencil lines. Okay, saving, so saith the hourglass, and export image file. That's the one. Oh, this is curious. This is from Door to Death issue 1. Look how far I've come along. Kind of. I was referencing this because this is before they buy the restaurant. This is interesting enough. This is going way back. You can see this. Speaking of drawing characters for the first time, this is the first time I drew these characters. This guy had appeared earlier, but the nice Chinese women who are offering him a job and explaining that they have bought this restaurant they're sitting in right now, which is going out of business, to start a sushi restaurant because their crooked cousin has usurped the family business and they're breaking off. They're splintering off to start their own sushi restaurant. And there's the joke about, he says, you're starting a Chinese restaurant, aren't you? You're starting a sushi restaurant, aren't you Chinese? And they say no one really knows the difference around here. That is also based on real life. South Park made a joke about it, and it's something I've recognized. All right, let's look at it. In fact, I could one of these days I'll tell you all about just how, you know, my understanding of Chinese culture was for a while limited to going to Chinese restaurants. And then after making some nice Chinese friends, I opened my eyes a bit, and that's why I found it funny when South Park was making jokes about the same thing, about not really knowing what country sushi originates from and other foods and what have you. Okay, let's make it a little bigger. It always goes real slow when I'm in the viewer mode. Can't stand that, but bear with me. Yeah, see, I moved the bar down and it doesn't. Well, I'm happy with this page, folks. I'm glad to have it done. Let's stick around for a couple more minutes. Let me at least get the next page started, and if you're curious to learn. Okay, so yeah, this video is going to be called Butt Cheeks, I guess. Not too shabby. You're welcome. I know you were hoping for something like that. You know you were. That's okay, though. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You want to see grotesque butt cheeks? I mean, why not in a comic? It's better than at a family theme park. And no real women were exploited here. Nobody was exploited because these people are all not real. They're just inspired by real idiots. Page 18. Yes, 5 more pages. And Door to Death issue 6 will be done. I'm very stoked about that. All right, yeah, so you go to your panels. Yeah, let's do a little learning. Maybe I can actually teach you some stuff about Manga Studio while we're doing this. We go to panels and bring the size of the page up a wee bit. Now, just go ahead and save the file right here. It remembers this, you know, it's smart, you know, it remembers my file names have been door6p and page number. So this is page 18. It just remembers these. I've been using these consistently, except for the page number changes, so they just leave that blank. That's cool technology. Technology is cool. All right, so I know the next panel is going to be just big enough to get a few small bits of dialogue. This is some unorthodox on my part. I've already envisioned this next step. It's going to be the woman getting ready to say excuse me as he's saying something very funny. You'll have to read the comic to see what it is because it's vulgar, but it made me laugh. Okay, and then they're gonna have a little conflict here. Okay, so from here, like, I know specifically what's going on here. I just kind of guesstimate what the action is going to be. So they're going to have a conflict here. I'll give them that much space. It's very unorthodox, very unplanned. It's just, I kind of just let it come fluidly to me. Maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you need a script. I do not. So I'm writing my own work. Okay, and some mouthing off from the lame brains here. Maybe by here she's telling them to leave. Okay, let's have a shot of the restaurant. Let's have the restaurant in the foreground. Oh, okay, all right. Here's the restaurant. It's going to be in the foreground here, I think. And Here they can be discussing where they're going to go do their drugs at. All right, now we go to sketch. How much time do I have? 24. Okay. Let's see how much sketching we can get done. Okay. All right. So let's take dude here. He's like, let's. Okay, headband. Now the hair's more like here. Okay, because you got to have. Some sweat beads. Like, yeah. I know that's gross, but that's funny because that's what he's going to be saying. Kind of. He's going to say something a little more specific than that. Okay, sweat. And just spoiler alert, not really much of a spoiler, but I think all she's going to be saying here is, excuse me. Let's see. Put in those hand movements, you know, make them natural. I was doing the thing where I was kind of measuring out the heads a little bit. It helps. Going back to the art school days. It's not, I don't think it's really mandatory for my style. It's really cool to bring this all full circle, you know, having them back in the same, you know, just we're on a roll now. We're back in the restaurant. Just going back to this territory, you know, it feels, you know, just going back to familiar territory. I mean, I started this comic, I guess, over a year ago now. Maybe her hand can be going. Let's give a little more dimension to this hand. What do you say? Let's get a little more ambitious than that. How many fingers are on a human? 5, that's right. Okay. Just joking. I know. A little more dimension to that hand. Like thrusting it out a little bit. Maybe make this arm a little more kind of. Maybe she's puffing it out a little bit more because she's getting ticked off. Excuse me. That's enough for today, people. Except, wait. What? Let's see. Nah, it's just too time consuming because I want to say the building's going to be something like this, and they're kind of coming out here just to give you. I saw this come to life in my head. I wanted to just show you a little bit, but it's going to be a little too. I think we've done enough for today. Save. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, everybody. So, my awesome tape rig. Okay, so thank you for dropping by, watching the butt cheek video. That's all there is to it for today. So God bless y'all. Say something cheesy like keep drawing, keep doing whatever you do, and do it for the powers of good. even if it has grotesque butt cheeks in it. Bye bye.
Door to Death, Volume 1, Revived Hive, collecting the first 5 issues of Door to Death in the single Charlotte comic Oh man, it's so brutal. It's gonna make you puke blood all over the place. Totally blood puking, awesome, nasty. So savage, just kill yourself. It smells like crap. It's so awesome. It'll make your girlfriend spray love sauce all over the walls, and then you'll go crazy. Pick up a copy for your nephew. He'll think you're the coolest uncle ever. Kill me, even though no one ever calls you. You're still loved. Never give up hope.